Alrighty guys, so I'm back with another video, an unboxing video. So I finally have my S.H.Monsterarts Godzilla 2019. I was very lucky because the mail was already closed, but the guy inside of there, he told me, you know what, you're already here, so why not, man? I'll give you your box, just give me your tracking number. So very lucky. You'll be getting my first impressions, and I do like this box. This is a brand new box style with the S.H.Monsterarts for the King of the Monsters line, and I really do love this type of style right here that we're getting. It looks really good with the Monsterverse. So I'm gonna open this up and I'll be back with a cool epic edit video. Alrighty boys, I got it right here. So hopefully I don't have a derpy looking S.H.Monsterarts. At least that's what I'm hoping for right now. So here it is. I'm gonna give you guys my first impressions and everything. So finally I have my hands on it and I'll give you guys my first impression. Wow. Really? No way, man. You gotta be playing. That's why I always say getting S.H.Monsterarts, it's a mystery because you never know if they're gonna come in good conditions or your figure's gonna pop out. So there you go, man. Awesome quality control right off the bat for Reynolds, man. I cannot believe this. So apparently, wait, it comes with a second mouth. It comes with this thing right here, which is very interesting. I'm very glad I got this because I sold my Spitfire version, so I'm very glad. It looks the same, just a little bit more bluish. Still has the silver touch to it, but it's pretty much the same effect. So I'll be back. I gotta fix this up and I'll give you my first impressions. Alrighty, so my first impressions was putting on this part that just fell off. Was a hell of a job. Just look at how red my hands are. I couldn't even fit it in, like it just wouldn't go in, and I'm pretty sure it's still loose because I had a difficult time putting that bad boy inside of there. And it's always gonna be a mystery. You never know if you're gonna get a broken leg, a broken head, or any parts missing. So the texture on this feels different from the 2014. I like how it feels. Oh, it definitely feels different. Wow, let me see. Wow, I definitely love the sculpture on this figure. It looks really good. It looks like in the movie, just exactly like that. The tail definitely much smaller from the 2014 version, and the dorsal plates, I just love the dorsal plates. And I definitely noticed already a change from the NECA. This dorsal plate is smaller, and the overall design just looks really good. I like the texture for sure, and it's very stiff. And you know what we have to do? We have to use the blow dryer to loosen up the ball joints and all that. But damn, I definitely do love the head sculpture, even the tongue and all that. From this angle, you can definitely tell it's the 2019 version. I really do love this figure from what I can tell. So yeah, I'll be back. I'm gonna take a closer look at it so I can give you guys my review, and I'll use the blow dryer. I'll show you guys, and of course show you the box artwork. Thank you. This is my first impressions. I think it's a good figure so far, but I'll take a deeper look as time goes by. Now remember, when using your blow dryer, don't do it super close because there's a chance you will damage your figure. So the only reason I'm doing it this close is because I have a special plastic that protects your hair against heat, so I'm good to go. So if you have one, be my guest, put it on and use it on your figure, but be careful still. Do it from a distance, maybe do it like 1 minute, 2 minutes if you really have to, and move your ball joints to make sure that your figure is good to go. Don't overdo it because you could mess up the plastic and just leave it super soft or melt it. Okay, so I just use the blow dryer, and what you want to do now is move around your figure so the ball joints get loosened up and all of that. And I did mine very close because I have the protection that it protects like your hair so it doesn't get burned. So yeah, that's why I did it super close. But if you don't have that special plastic, don't do it as close as I was doing it, because for sure you can melt your plastic or you'll take damage to your figure. That's why I was doing my blow dryer super close to Godzilla because I know that I have the protection of the overheat thing. So yeah, if you're gonna do yours and you don't have that special plastic, don't do it super close. Do it from a distance, like for maybe 1 minute. It depends if your ball joints are still stiff or not. If they are, then just go back, maybe put it on hot water, blow dry it again, and that should be the trick right there. So yeah, just mess with it with the articulation. Make sure you have your ball joints loosen up how they should be. And damn, it was really a pain getting this piece right. Wow. No, man, really? Now taking a look at the box, you can definitely tell that this is a brand new design for the S.H.Monsterarts line, especially for Godzilla King of the Monsters. It features a mixture between black and blue with a brand new window display on it where you can see Godzilla King of the Monsters. Now on every single corner it has Godzilla, and on top it has a brand new design for the box, and I have to say this design looks freaking good for this line, and I'm guessing this is only exclusive for Godzilla King of the Monsters. I'm not sure if all of the brand new released for Godzilla will feature this brand new box, but I have to say this looks more futuristic, it looks more modern if you will, and I just love this design. I gotta say that the Monsterverse logo, the Godzilla 2019, the Godzilla King of the Monsters, and just everything looks really good. And I gotta say that the images they use for this box art looks really good. So I'm definitely happy that they are not using the old designs because it was getting old and it didn't look that cool because it didn't have that 3D feel to it. And this one having the window box display and everything just feels a lot better. The design, the color, everything just looks way better on this brand new line for Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I believe King Ghidorah actually has that. So I'm very excited to see that design yet again appear on King Ghidorah, and who knows, I might be able to afford it, but if I do afford it, make sure to watch that video. Now moving on. For this design, it's based on the Godzilla from King of the Monsters, and the sculptor is Yuji Sakai. So this is actually based on a 3D scan, and they actually molded and all that, and Yuji Sakai just went in to add in extra details for the figure to look more screen accurate. And I gotta say, I'm very impressed with the texture, the way it feels on your hands. It just feels really good, and the design overall looks just exactly like in the movie. I was very surprised because when this Godzilla is looking straight forward, it looks exactly like the Godzilla 2019 from the movie. The sculpture is really good. The details are 2 times better from the 2014, and that's a improvement for sure. I like the tail. You guys can see that the differences on the 2014 and the 2019 are this time much bigger because this is a totally new mold, new design for the movie. So that's why the brand new features are the spikes or the dorsal blades, his feet, his claws, his hands, his head, his tail, and maybe a little touch up around his body because this one is more accurate this time versus the 2014. Okay, so this is exactly what I'm talking about. Just look at him from this front view. It reminded me of that one scene from the movie where Godzilla is about to fight Ghidorah, and you see all the jets, the Arco jet alongside Godzilla. It looks exactly like that when you view Godzilla from the front view, and from the sides it's full of details of brand new dorsal plates, and it has a new color type of scheme around his chest, but it's not that visible from the promotional arts because I do remember there was more brownish. But yeah, it's very articulated. It feels very good on your hands. It has a good texture and a good weight to it. The tail is not that loose like the 2014. If you guys remember, the 2014 had a lot of tail problems. It couldn't hold its pose. This one, I'm happy to report, it's able to hold its pose. But the bad thing about this figure is that it's very stiff, that you really don't have a lot of movement on his tail. So there's movement, but not the movement that you were expecting like Shin Godzilla or other figures. So yeah, it is possible to pose this figure, but you'll need like some type of stand as you're watching it from right now. And I gotta say, the feet are one of my favorites because this design actually looks more sharp. It has more details. I just like the overall color. When you look at his feet or his claws, it actually looks like this Godzilla can actually do damage to other titans. Like if he pins you down, there's no way you're getting back up. Now taking a look at the sculpture, it's very beautiful in all the ways. Yuji Sakai did a fantastic job with every single detail on this design, and that's where the magic starts to happen. When you see the 2014 and the 2019, there's a huge gap in terms of details, sculpture. There's a lot of things that this sculpture features, so hopefully you get an idea of the articulation with this figure. I'm showing you what the tail is capable of doing, his body, his legs. So yeah, it's very capable of doing a lot of articulated poses. You just have to have the imagination. Your imagination is your limits with this figure. The dorsal plates are very magical, and they remind you of the 54 because they are based on the 54 with the 2014. They combined to the 2019 dorsal plates, and they look very beautiful. Just looking at this figure, I just cannot stop looking at this figure because every single pose looks exactly just like in the movie. Now, one of the differences also is his head. I believe it's smaller than the original 2014 figure, and also in the movie. In case you did not know, that's one of the difference that you will see between both of the figures, is that the Godzilla 2019 has a smaller head sculpture, and I really like that. It doesn't look that bad with this figure. Now, in terms of posing this figure, like I told you, it's very capable, but I noticed that there's a few problems. It's not that perfect, and it has to do with details, which I will get onto the video later on, and I'll show you exactly where my problems are. There's a few things that actually make this Godzilla 2019 very special opposed to the other standard versions that we have seen in the past, because this actually features an atomic breath, a changeable mouth, and that's really good because I've been saying for the past years S.H.Monsterarts has to change the way they release figures, and even NECA, I said it a few times, that the standard version should at least have an atomic breath, some buildings, some tanks. It should be able to have something because you're paying a lot of money, and just paying for the figure just does not make sense. So overall, I'm very glad that S.H.Monsterarts is actually taking a different approach with this figure. Moving forward, that's something that I would like to see in the future for the S.H.Monsterarts line, where every single standard release has included some buildings, some tanks, an atomic breath, or something that actually makes the price even more worth it, because paying for a standard version and then we have the special version or the special editions makes you feel like, yeah, you got ripped off and you got the cheaper version for nothing, because then you have this ultimate special edition Godzilla that just came out. It has more atomic breaths, it has more things in it, and you just feel left out because they're exclusive. And sadly, I don't think that's going to be the case for the future, because if you look at Ghidorah, he actually does not include any gravity beams. He only comes with stands because of course he's very big, very heavy, and this is the problem that I'm talking about. So I noticed that in a lot of reviews, some people were saying that they couldn't move his arm, his right arm. And here's why, because it has so much details that when you're trying to move his articulation or his ball joint, it gets stuck because of his little spikes that you see on his shoulders. So it's not because of the ball joint, it's actually the little spikes and details on his shoulder. I'm not sure if that's gonna be a problem for a lot of people. It's very hard to move the shoulder, but just be very careful because you could damage this figure due to his shoulder spikes and details. And I thought it was just like it was very stiff, but that's not the problem. Now if you have a nasty gap like right here, all you have to do is push your figure forward. That should do the trick. So I noticed that I had a big gap, and they actually engineered this figure very awesome where you can actually push his stomach forward and it covers the gap. So that allows you to get more articulation if you want to bend your Godzilla forwards or backwards. And I believe the 2014 did not have that, so that's very good on their part, and I really like that. Also for his neck part, if you have a little gap right there, just push it forward and there, all fixed up. That's all you got to do, no problems. But I do notice that the neck part is very loose, so be careful with that. Okay, so when it comes down to articulation, this figure has a lot of articulation on his shoulders, his hands, but I told you, be careful with his shoulder because of his little spikes that he has on the waist, so be careful with that yet again. Now I noticed that on his head, my head is very loose, or it just tends to pop off really easily, and that's what I was trying to tell you guys, that he has a lot of articulation, but at the same time you got to be careful when you look to your left and to your right because it does tend to pop off. But yes, you have a lot of articulation, and this time you can actually move his head all the way up, just like in the movie or in the trailers where you see Godzilla shooting up his atomic breath, and that is very cool. So they actually got motivated to do or engineer his neck to do that pose from the movie, and that is very cool. Now for this part, it can actually move forwards and backwards, but you're not going to get a lot of articulation like in the 2014. It seems to be more stiff. Now this part can actually bend forwards. You don't have the spike that you used to have in the 2014, which kind of sucks. It was unique, but yeah, that allows you to move his stomach forwards and backwards. I noticed that on mine, this little piece seems to be very loose, or it just doesn't seem to be in place, but the tail has a lot of articulation. Yet again, it's stiff like I told you guys, so be careful with that. It's very poseable, but it's up to you if you want to risk bending your figure too much. You could break a ball joint, or the tail can pop off, and it could be very difficult to put it back on because it's very spiky and all of that. So yes, you can actually move his tail all the way up, or if you want to move it down. Now his legs have a lot of articulation, but one of them just feels weird. I think it's the one on the right. This one is okay. You have a lot of leg movement. Feet are definitely movable, and I love those designs. Like I told you, brand new design right there. So you don't really have to worry about articulation, or oh, I'm not gonna be able to pose my Godzilla in this way or try to recreate this scene from the movie, because you will be able to do pretty much any pose that you want as long as you have the time and the imagination. The head, the mouth, I like the tongue, how it's sticking out. That's really cool. It just looks a lot better like that. Every time that I look at Godzilla from this angle, it just screams Godzilla King of the Monsters. When you have the final battle, I don't know, they just really capture the sculpture of Godzilla this time around, where the 2014 did not. And his claws, I told you guys, that is one of the parts that I really do love about this figure. Even underneath they added details and all of that, so they did not skip on adding less details on his feet or underneath. This figure is packed with a lot of details, a lot of articulation. You can pretty much do anything, and I just love the color. It has like a grayish type of brownish color to his nails. They look very sharp, like they can actually do damage to other kaijus. They look like a Godzilla type of feet that he should have had from the beginning, not like the 2014, which look weird like elephant, super awkward. So enough of that, let's move on to the dorsal plates. This time around they are a new design and they look very accurate. They don't look bigger or smaller. They did a really good job to capture the dorsal plates design, even the head sculpture. As I told you, when you look at this design from every single angle, you can recognize it is the Godzilla from the King of the Monsters. There's a lot of companies out there that fail to capture a sculpture from a figure or anything sometimes, and when you look at this figure from every single angle, you can tell this is Godzilla. You look at it from the left, right, front view, top view, this looks exactly like the King of the Monsters Godzilla, and that's something that other companies can't even capture. Now this little small piece is an extra mouthpiece that you get with this figure. This is the one that you get to pose your atomic breath piece. Now for this part, all you have to do is remove the head, and it should be pretty simple. You shouldn't have any problems. You have to remove the mouth, and you see that little peg. Now get the other piece with the atomic breath, and you got to put it inside of this hole right here that you see right there. So you see that piece right there, you got to connect both of them so they connect with each other, and there you go. You have your atomic breath mouthpiece. Now the other part that you will need is his atomic breath, which is the Spitfire version. All you got to do is grab it, and there should be, well, there you go. So here it is, the atomic breath. It's the same one from the 2014 Spitfire version. I believe there's no difference, but you know, I would have loved to have seen a different atomic breath, something that looked exactly like in the movie, because this looks like the 2014 version and it's exactly the same. So all you gotta do is, there's a hole inside of there, you have to connect it with the hole. It could be kind of difficult because if you put it the wrong way, it's not gonna hold its pose, and I can already tell that this technique that they were trying to do, well, it might be a good idea on paper. It really does not work for this technique, because over time your figure could become loose because of the weight of this atomic breath. It's just very heavy and it's not gonna hold its pose, like I'm telling you. Even if you try to put this atomic breath forward, it's gonna lean to the side or it's just gonna tilt. Now when I first saw the review for this on Facebook, a lot of people were hyping up this atomic breath, that they were saying it was super secure, that the atomic breath wouldn't fall, that it was exactly like in the movie, and I gotta say that is not true. I don't know, this to me just seems like a gimmick or something that they were trying to make it unique and epic, and they kind of failed. And of course this is their first time, so there's always room to improve. But yeah, I gotta say that everyone on Facebook, they were lying, because it doesn't hold its pose. You have to make the head go all the way backwards, and it just gives you a lot of gaps, and even if you move it just a little bit, it's gonna fall, and over time your ball joints or whatever, they could become loose, like I'm telling you. So if you want to risk it, go for it, but I don't recommend you to pose your Godzilla with this atomic breath. Maybe if you want to take pictures, or maybe if you want to have it just for one day, sure, go for it. But yeah, I don't see this gimmick being all that useful. I don't know, I think they could have used a different technique, and it's very heavy. You can tell that even the gums to the side, they're coming up. But if you're talking about like visuals and all of that, yeah, sure, it does look freaking epic. Even in this shot that I'm doing right here, it looks epic just like in the movie, but you have to struggle with it a lot of times. It's gonna fall, you're gonna have to put it back in its pose, and it's gonna fall, and you see all those gaps. Yeah, they don't look that well. So that's one of the down parts. And just look at this. This is exactly what you're gonna get. It's gonna fall. So that's what I'm telling you. In the future, you could have a loose ball joint, or maybe problems, like I'm telling you over and over. I cannot stress this enough. If you want to risk it, go for it. But you can see there's a big gap right there. If you want to close the mouth, you can just see how heavy this atomic breath is, that the gums are not even staying in place. I think, you know, they tried, but it just failed. Maybe they can use a different technique, because the stands are getting kind of old. I think the technique that NECA is actually doing works fantastic for them. But overall, I think if they would have used a different material or sculpted the atomic breath to be lighter, it could have worked. Who knows? Now right here I'm using the GMK Atomic Breath, and it looks even better than the Spitfire in my opinion. Let me know what you think. I don't know, I just don't like the Spitfire version with this 2019 Godzilla. It just does not fit with it. It's like too skinny, too thin, too spiky, and it does not look like in the movie. I think this GMK works fantastic. Even my own customized effect works even better with this Godzilla. Maybe in the next release we can have a more accurate atomic breath, a more powerful that looks exactly like in the movie, because I did not like the Spitfire. And it's not that I don't like the Spitfire version, but I just don't like it for this Godzilla because it just doesn't look right with it, you know? And that's another complaint that I have. I don't like it when companies reuse molds for other figures or for games. It just feels lazy, it looks lazy on paper, and I don't like that. In that case, we should have just got a brand new mold for the atomic breath. I think that would have made this figure 2 times more badass. In that case, even more worth it, because it's a new piece. For people who have the Spitfire version, it just does not seem worth it, to be honest. And of course it's worth it to me because I sold my Spitfire version, but to those who actually have the Godzilla 2014 Spitfire version and then you have the 2019, it's just gonna feel odd and not worth it, because now you have two atomic blasts for the 2019 and 2014. So I think they could have done even better with that. In terms of accessories, we should have definitely gotten a brand new atomic breath, maybe the Arco Jet, and that's something that I'm very worried about for the future, because if they do a different version like the Burning Godzilla or the Supercharged, I definitely do not want S.H.Monsterarts to reuse the Spitfire version, because it's just gonna be super lame. Just think about it. 3 different Godzillas with the same atomic breath. Maybe one has a red, maybe a lighter blue. That's gonna be so lame. So if I was S.H.Monsterarts, this would be a perfect opportunity to grab more people with different atomic breaths and just make every single Godzilla different from the previous one. Because if you're gonna do the same thing that we got with the 2014, it was kind of lame. It's the same mold, just different color and all of that. I want actually companies to do something different with their designs, to actually make a visual change on them, to make it maybe translucent, to maybe add lights, something different that makes every single release unique from each other. You watch the movie, you can definitely tell what I'm trying to do right here with the Godzilla and Ghidorah. And for the Burning Godzilla version, I definitely want S.H.Monsterarts to include like an atomic explosion, or some type of an explosion that you can place on his leg that creates the movie scene that we got to see towards the end. That would be so epic. And I want them to make the other Titans. I would definitely want Muto's, the Behemoth, I think that was his name. I don't remember exactly all of the names, but I definitely want other Titans. And so far this S.H.Monsterarts Godzilla 2019 is really good. There's a few problems here and there, but you know, it's just something that could definitely be fixed if they try to do something brand new and they actually test it out before they release it to public. Because yeah, just look at this. I don't like this. I don't know, guys. I just think they could have done better with the atomic breath, because this is definitely a problem if you want to pose your figure. And look at that, my head just falls off super easily. I'm not sure if that's due to the weight. Who knows? If you know why, let me know in the comments down below. Oh yeah, you saw that my head just fell off, and I'm just showing you how there's a problem with this atomic breath. It's just not me, because I saw other reviews and they said the same thing, that this atomic breath just feels too heavy. And you can see his gums are popping out, his jaw is not in place, and I don't know, they could have definitely used a different piece. And I know I said it multiple times. Now moving on to his eyes. Does he have derpy eyes? Yes or no? In my case, no, he does not have derpy eyes. From what I can tell, let me know what you think, because I was looking at him with the light close up, and then both of his eyes were looking straight forward. So yeah, that's a good thing because the 2014 has such derpy eyes. The mouth paint was awful. So that is definitely an improvement from what I can tell. So let me know what your figure looks like because obviously everyone has different figures, different problems, different eyes, whatever. Let me know down in the comments down below because I'm very curious to know if it's just me or did everyone else have a perfect figure. I know this time around NECA definitely messed up, and from what I can tell, SH Monster Art have definitely improved from the 2014, and I like that because that's telling you that this company is learning from their mistakes. But like I told you, it could be luck. Now moving on to size, I noticed that it's always the same thing with this figure or just with this American type of Godzilla. So I noticed that with the 2014, he was not the biggest Godzilla. For the 2019, I was expecting this figure to be the size of Shin Godzilla and Godzilla Earth. In this case, that is not the case, sadly. He is not the biggest. And that really sucks because it just does not look right when you have Godzilla 2019 versus your 2014. It just looks the same size. And he obviously grew in Godzilla King of the Monsters, so it does not make sense. I'm not sure why S.H. Monsterarts just didn't go and make this Godzilla even bigger, just like Shin Godzilla, Godzilla Earth. You can see there's a big difference between Shin and Godzilla 2019, and I don't like that, guys. I definitely don't like how they always treat the legendary version like it's less when it comes down to their type of figures or their company. But when it comes down to a Toho figure, they always improve in size. They did it with Shin Godzilla, they did it with Godzilla Earth, and it should have been the opposite. Shin Godzilla should have been the size of Godzilla 2019, and Godzilla 2019 should have been like Shin Godzilla. But who knows, maybe they said, okay, if we made Godzilla 2019 even bigger, like the Godzilla Earth, Shin Godzilla, then we would have to increase the size of Ghidorah because he's already big. He's about 10 inches tall. But I mean, he's very expensive, so they might as well just make Ghidorah even bigger because we're already paying a lot of money. They should have just gave us, Ghidorah at 190 for maybe 11 inches tall because I don't like this, guys. I don't like the size of the Godzilla 2019. Let me know if you do like it or if you don't like it because I would have to disagree. They always mistreat Godzilla when it comes to size accuracy, and that is just not cool, man. I mean, if they do a second version, maybe a KK of Godzilla King of the Monsters, then yeah, that would be badass. Maybe have the KK version with lights, a brand new atomic breath piece, but I don't like the size because it makes this brand new Godzilla look puny compared to Shin Godzilla, Destroyer, other Godzilla monsters that are bigger than him, and it should have been the opposite. This Godzilla should have been the biggest that there is of to date. So that is my review. I give this figure a 9.9. It could have been perfect. The only complaint that I have is his atomic breath and the shoulders. That is about it. This figure looks perfect. It looks exactly like in the movie. The 3D renders, Yuji Sakai did an amazing job with his sculpt, and I recommend you to pick this figure. It is the best Godzilla 2019 of to date for sure. And let me just show you how loose my neck is. See, it came out so easily, so I'm not sure if that's a problem just for me or if everyone else has this problem, but I did notice that yes, he does have a little spike, but it's not like the 2014 where you can definitely see that it covers a gap. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'm just showing you what this figure is capable of doing if you handle it kind of rough. And oh man, I'm just disappointed with the size. I was expecting this one to be more bigger because for the 2014 I was hoping to get a bigger figure, but we didn't. And now with this release 5 years after, and we still don't get a size increase with this figure, I think it looks cool the way that you're able to pose this figure this time around with his head all the way up, because you can now pose him in a swimming pose just like in the movie. So yeah, this figure is capable of pretty much doing any type of pose from the movie. So that is it guys for my review. Sorry if it was super long, but just remember it's an unboxing and review giving you my thoughts. And maybe they didn't increase his size because then the size accuracy wouldn't be the same between Ghidorah and Godzilla. So there you go, maybe that is why. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification.